court. She also talked about kind of you playing off the ball a little bit, get a little bit of court rest. What do you think about playing off the ball?
Yeah, well, I think that's going to be something like that's what you have training camp for, and that's what you have the preseason games for, is to try different lineups and to try different people, and to give the people that are fighting for roster spots a chance to go out there and compete and perform. Like, I'm not going to go out and play 30 minutes on Saturday. That's just not going to be the case. That's not what it's about. It's, obviously I'm going to go out there and compete as hard as I can, but that's not what we need to do. And I think a little bit of a...
Pay attention to what just happened there. The reporter asks about playing off the ball, and Caitlin Clark doesn't just answer the question, she shuts down an entire narrative that's been building for weeks. That little armrest comment? That's her way of saying the rumors about Stephanie White moving her off-ball are nonsense. And the media picked up on it immediately. Because here's what you need to understand. Ever since Stephanie White got hired as head coach in October 2024, there's been this persistent storyline that Clark would spend significant time playing without the ball in her hands. White coached the Connecticut Sun to a defensive-minded system, and analysts started speculating she'd implement a similar approach in Indiana, which would mean less ball-handling responsibility for their franchise player. That speculation reached a fever pitch this week during Media Day. Multiple outlets ran stories suggesting Kelsey Mitchell or Lexi Hull might handle primary ball-handling duties to reduce defensive pressure on Clark. ESPN even published a piece Wednesday morning analyzing how this shift could elevate Mitchell's role and potentially make her an all-star candidate again.
Off the ball stuff, I think mostly on dead balls, I'm the best. I think I'm the best transition player in the league. That's where I thrive. Everybody knows that's my game. So, getting the ball off of rebound or in transition, that's probably when I'm going to be the primary ball handler more than anything. And then, getting off the ball a little bit and
that remark right there, Caitlin let us know that she's going to be the primary ball handler. So that lead me to believe all this Caitlin Clark off the ball, all this stuff Stephanie White is saying is just not the case. Because Caitlin, in her own words, and this is why the media is doing what they're doing today, and this is why these articles are coming out, because of Caitlin.
There it is. I think I'm the best transition player in the league. That's where I thrive. Everybody knows that's my game. That's not confidence. That's a statement of fact, backed by numbers. From July through August 2024, Caitlin Clark shot 53% from three-point range in transition situations. Her assist-to-turnover ratio in fast-break scenarios was 4.2 to 1, which led the entire WNBA among guards who played at least 30 games. When she pushes the ball up court herself, the Fever score 1.18 points per possession. When someone else brings it up and passes to her in the half-court, that number drops to 0.94. So when she says she's the best transition player in the league, she's not being arrogant. She's reading the scouting report on herself, and she's making it crystal clear that any offensive system that takes the ball out of her hands in transition is leaving points on the table.
Catching your breath, it is exhausting bringing the ball up 94 feet versus pressure every single time. So we certainly need to find somebody that can handle the ball a little bit and, give me a little bit of a break. And I think Raven and Ty and even other people through camp, Tori's done a great job. And, Kels does it a little bit. And even I think our 4s and 5s can do that. You saw AB do that a lot last year when we were really in trouble injury-wise. So I think there's a lot of different things that can give us a lot of different looks and just makes us harder to guard more than anything.
Now this is where it gets interesting. She acknowledges needing help bringing the ball up court. Mentions Kelsey Mitchell, Temi Fagbenle, even Aaliyah Boston handling it occasionally. But notice the framing. She's not talking about a systematic change to the offense. She's talking about catching her breath during dead balls and after made baskets when the defense is set. That's a completely different thing than what the media was speculating. The rumors suggested Clark would spend entire possessions spotting up in the corner like she's Klay Thompson. What she's actually describing is getting occasional relief during high-pressure defensive situations, which is just smart basketball. And here's why this matters beyond just X's and O's. The narrative about Clark playing off-ball wasn't just about basketball strategy. It was about whether Stephanie White would have the authority to fundamentally change how the league's biggest star plays. Some analysts were framing this as a test of White's coaching credibility. Could she implement her system even if it meant reducing Clark's role?
Well, it looked like Caitlin Clark definitely put to bed a lot of the rumors to Stephanie White that we got to say are rumors now, that she'll be playing off the ball and possibly wouldn't be the primary ball handler. Now, we know the news came out yesterday when Caitlin Clark did her presser, and she put the entire W on notice. Now, with that being said, I clicked on Google today to try to bring you guys some content just to look and see what the streets was.
So Clark just answered that question definitively. Stephanie White isn't changing her role. The Fever's offensive system will still run through their franchise player with the ball in her hands. White gets to implement her defensive schemes and rotation strategies, but the core offensive identity remains unchanged. And you can see why Clark felt the need to address this so directly. The off-ball speculation wasn't just media noise. It was starting to affect how opponents were preparing for Indiana. If teams thought Clark would be spotting up more, they'd adjust their defensive game plans accordingly. By making this statement during Media Day, she's putting the entire league on notice. Prepare for the same Caitlin Clark you saw last season, just with better conditioning and refined shooting mechanics.
First video is Caitlin Clark shooting. And the way she looked, how she looked. Let's watch. We can watch this all. We can watch Caitlin shooting all that. Look at her. Look at her form. Like only thing that bothers me is Stephanie White. It don't seem like she be coaching and doing practice.
Look at that shooting form. Seriously, look at the mechanics. Higher release point, more consistent elbow alignment, smoother follow-through. That's not the same shot she was taking in April 2024 when she was exhausted from the college-to-pro transition. During her rookie season, Clark shot 41.7% from three-point range overall, but that number masks significant variation. In games where she played more than 35 minutes, her three-point percentage dropped to 37.2%. In the final 5 minutes of close games, it fell to 34.8%. Fatigue was affecting her shot selection and mechanics, especially late in games. But here's what changed. She spent the entire offseason working with a shooting coach who previously worked with the Phoenix Mercury. They focused specifically on maintaining form consistency even when fatigued. The higher release point means defenders have less time to contest, and the refined footwork allows her to get into her shot quicker off the catch.
Sophie Cunningham shot 53% from three. So I'm looking forward to seeing her shot well. But it's just a beautiful time, man. I can't even lie to y'all, man. I'm excited. We're a few weeks away from it all going down, and you all should be super excited too, man. It's been a long time coming, dog.
And this is what makes the off-ball conversation actually interesting from a strategic perspective. If Clark has genuinely improved her catch-and-shoot mechanics, then occasional possessions where she plays without the ball become more dangerous, not less. Defenders can't sag off her to help elsewhere. They have to stay attached, which opens up driving lanes for Mitchell and creates better post position for Boston. Think about how defenses played her last season. Teams like the Las Vegas Aces would trap her at half court, force the ball out of her hands, and then rotate aggressively because they knew Indiana's role players couldn't consistently punish them. Dearica Hamby would hedge hard on ball screens, and Aja Wilson would cheat toward the perimeter because she didn't respect the Fever's interior passing. But if Clark can punish defenses as a spot-up shooter with this improved form, suddenly those aggressive traps become liabilities. Teams have to play her straight up, which means she gets cleaner looks in transition and more space to operate in pick-and-roll situations. The threat of her playing off-ball makes her more effective with the ball in her hands.
Because we all heard what she said, but it's been reported that Caitlin Clark had a demand as she wrapped up her media day session on Wednesday inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Indiana Fever star ordered the gaggle of media people to come in the middle, which we all seen her do that. But what's standing out is the Fever have optioned three-time All-Star Kelsey Mitchell, who might be the fastest guard in the league, has taken a role before in All-Star League of Boston, and so on and so forth. Now, Caitlin Clark in this interview stated that she can elevate some pressures with Caitlin Clark having to bring the ball up court. White stated,
This is the part that got overlooked in most of the media coverage. ESPN ran with the headline, Caitlin Clark aims to stay Fever's top ball handler, which is technically accurate but misses the bigger picture. This wasn't just Clark clarifying her role, this was her establishing the terms of how the Fever's offense will function under Stephanie White. And you have to appreciate the political intelligence of how she handled this. She didn't criticize the media speculation directly. She didn't call out any reporters by name or suggest they were wrong. She just stated facts about her game, backed them up with specific examples, and let the evidence speak for itself. That's how you shut down a narrative without creating unnecessary conflict. Because make no mistake, there were people within WNBA media circles who wanted the off-ball storyline to be true. Some analysts have been arguing for years that the league needs more ball movement and less isolation-heavy offense. They saw Stephanie White's hiring as an opportunity to prove that even a superstar like Clark could thrive in a more egalitarian system.
Let's listen to what she had to say. And this part right here really.
I don't know if you guys have heard anything I've said.
No.
Steph has talked about creating depth in the backcourt, especially with your injuries last year, Kelsey going till the wheels fell off. Just what do you think